questions and reservations regarding that item.
Okay. So C5 will be pulled before we go into consent items. Any other? If not, do we have a second with that adjustment to accept the agenda?
I second the adjustment.
Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the agenda has been accepted. We'll move on to A2, the WESELPA Administrator's Report. Susan?
Good morning. I just have two items I wanted to share with you this morning. I've been at State WESELPA the last 2 days, and we'll send out any updates that occurred at State WESELPA later. First of all, I have the new CAC newsletter, and you'll want to take a look at that. A lot of exciting things happening with our CAC this year. We are offering, outside of the CAC, also through our ADR grant, some parent trainings, and they are listed on page 1. The first one, how will I know my child is making progress? Then one on secondary transition, a parent's role in the IEP process, be your child's champion. And then we're bringing Carla DeRossi from Sonoma County on May 16th, Parents Helping Parents. So we're really excited about that. On page 2, we've shared with the parents what the PPIC report recommendations are. And then on page 3, the Inland Empire Self-Administrators are hosting the statewide ADR conference this year. And one of the speakers that I heard at Cadre, which is a national ADR group, a year ago, is Tracy Mueller from University of Northern Colorado. And she's going to be here in Etiwanda Gardens to speak on January 31st. So if you have staff that would be interested in going to that, and certainly parents, there's going to be a separate session for parents from 3:30 to 5. And then on the back page, you will see that we now have 7 districts participating and regional center in our CAC. And our art and writing ceremony is scheduled for April 25th. And I believe Cucamonga district is going to be hosting that. No, they're hosting, Altaloma's hosting the art and writing, and the other event that Cucamonga is hosting, the celebration this year, because we thought it was real important to keep that going. And we don't have room for 150 here, so we're going to be doing that in Cucamonga, so we thank them for hosting that. Wanted to bring forward to you in the second document, straight out of the governor's proposed budget, there really isn't much for special education funding except about a 1.5% COLA at this point. However, they do cite the recommendations of the PPIC report, and especially I put them in blueprint. Number 1, special ed funding directly to school districts as part of the LCFF. And number 3, eliminate the requirement for SELPAs, basically. I think it would come upon us really quickly if in the May revise, the governor all of a sudden wants to take action on those 2 recommendations. And so they are saying that they will be having stakeholder groups, but we don't know who will be convening them, when they will be, or who will be invited. And then what they will be looking at is the items 1 through 4 on page 2. So what I would like to propose in the next few weeks, I would like to send out an email to each of you and invite, similar to the work group we did on our downsizing, that we convene a work group made up of different governance groups and representing all districts to look at what would that look like for us? What would we need to deal with if the districts receive the funding directly? There are a lot of things we do here with contributions from the districts at the SELPA, such as our XPOT. And so I think to be proactive, there would be a need to discuss some of those things, as well as what would be the governance structure you would want to continue if any of that were to happen, and then bring it to the council for action if indeed it appears that there will be something in the budget that would make that necessary. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Thank you, Susan. We'll move on to A3, parking lot review. No items for parking lot review, so we'll move to section B, public comment. We do have 3 cards for public comment. They're white cards for specific items, so per procedures, we'll get to those right before we get to the item. So that will move us into section C, which is superintendent's business consent items. And we have 5 items, one's pulled. So do we have a motion to approve C1 through 4 as consent items?
Yes, so moved.
It's moved by Matt, second.
Second.
Second, Mitch, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? C1 through 4 have been passed, which will move to C5. And before discussion, if we have a motion and second, then we'll get to discussion.
Sure.
So do we have a motion for C5?
I'd like to motion that this item get deferred for a later meeting after a discussion. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions.
Okay, so there's a motion to defer this item. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Nancy? So we have a first and a second discussion. If not, then all in favor of a motion to defer this item?
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. I apologize. I missed my cue there. That's my fault.
Okay.
No, I just have a range of questions. I'm prepared, depending if Susan or Mr. Alejandro, if you want me to give them to Ms. Johnson, she could give them. I can pass them out now. It ranges from, it looks like the agreement with this firm, Dannis, Woliver Kelley, was signed on August 5th, and we've had 3 meetings since the August 5th meeting, so we're considering this item today. And so one concern is, the authority to sign this agreement, who was privy to the agreement. To my knowledge, unless I've missed it, and I apologize if I have, I don't think this was ever considered when we were in the legally constituted meeting. This is the first that's being brought to my attention, and I'm assuming it's the first time it's being brought to the council's attention. So here's an agreement signed on August 5th. Here we are in January considering this item. So in a nutshell, what services have been rendered. I know one letter's obviously been sent to the State Board of Education. I don't think if the letter was sent on behalf of the council, we didn't have an opportunity to preview it and be privy to it and either affirm its accuracy or what have you. I don't think it was done at the direction of the council, at least in my attention. Gosh, I have about 7 or 8 questions. I'll try to be succinct. On the agenda item itself, it states that the rate is $265, but when you look at the agreement, there's no rate of $265. So I don't know if this is a blended rate. I don't know what the rationale is for the $265. So if you look at the agreement, which I think, Karen, you sent it out to all the superintendents, you can see the rates in that agreement. There's no $265 on that. Additionally, in the agenda item, verbatim, it just states basically when a case requires extraordinary legal representation, the Superintendents Council will be informed and given approval to utilize these services. So services have already been rendered because we know one letter has been sent to the State Board on August 5th. So if the State Board, if the Superintendents Council was privy to it, I'm not aware of it, so if I need to stand corrected, that's fine. So certainly the language, as it states to the hourly rate, and certainly the language to the intent of keeping the council informed before executing services, that's, to my understanding, not accurate. Additionally, I think some other questions is if services have been rendered, to what extent? So how many hours have been billed? What's the total cost? All those things. So I just have a range of questions that I think would serve the interest of the council, because potentially there could be more questions. There could be Brown Act considerations in play. There could also, be issues in regards to just the accuracy of the letter and the services that have been administered. So I just think there's just too many things. Like I said, I have it articulated here in the letter. Happy to get it to the right personnel so that the council, I think, would be better informed before approving the agreement.
So I'd like to respond to a few of your questions. In December of 2015, I was informed by county council that there would be a need to secure a law firm that was not currently.
In December.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
was not, of 2015.
Okay.
After the vote was taken in September, and then December 31st was the cutoff. I had been informed by county council there would be a need to secure counsel that was not currently contracted under your district in case there were any future litigation. I did secure the services of Dannis, Woliver Kelley, and signed an agreement actually in January, a contract, left it lying dormant because there was no need. There was no need when we brought forward the contracts in May, which is typically when we bring them forward. There was the activity that you mentioned, and to discuss the activity that has occurred in a legal realm, we need to go into closed session, so we could certainly schedule that in March if you would like to check into that. So this is the first time in 4.5 years that we have secured a different law firm that we weren't under contract with. And so we left it lying dormant and did not move forward to actually process it until there was a need. And so that's why you're seeing it today.
But if you have an agreement, and I guess the bigger question I think I've articulated here, under what authority are you allowed to sign an agreement and then have it retroactively approved by the council? Why would it not be just retroactively approved at the next subsequent meeting?
Well,
why are we waiting 3 to 4 meetings later?
An analogous situation would be the consents that you receive at every meeting for the settlement agreements. That has already happened. The services are already being provided.
Right.
And that's the way this SELPA has
Those
always.
agreements are signed by you or your designee. They come at a subsequent meeting, correct? They don't come 3 to 4 or 5 meetings
Not
later.
always.
Well, they should.
I mean,
They should come.
So we annually bring you the attorney contracts on schedule, but we're already using their services, and it's for.
but you're not even fitting in that schedule. If
Right.
you're to be
So-
consistent with that, then you wouldn't bring this back until May. I just think there's a lot of, if you like, I can read the document or just, I would just prefer this item being.
So why don't we
I reckon-
schedule a closed session in March?
However you want to mechanically do it is fine. I'd just like to get the questions provided to you so that the superintendent's council can be privy to the questions. And
Exactly.
And you can work with them, and
Exactly.
the only request I'm making is just to defer the decision so that things can be answered.
But Susan, I don't know what we would post on a closed session agenda that would make it appropriate for us to discuss this item. I think this is an open session item.
Pending litigation and the legal activity that's already taken place that is not an open session discussion.
No, I think this is more of a question of the general practice is that when you signed a contract for services, regardless of whether or not you're going to use those services immediately, they would go on the next subsequent agenda for approval by us.
So,
Even if you were not to use those services for another 1.5 years.
So you don't have any issues with any particular litigation, you have issues with the practice of.
You know, I think for the most part Nancy's right. I think this is more about the mechanics of an agreement. Now, if it does go into an agreement, you know, I think there's a small possibility that we took it to the nature. Why? I mean, there's no confusion why we secured this firm. It's to not have a conflict because of our termination. So if there are some reasons why, I guess when you try to answer some of these questions that I'm proposing, some may be considered, appropriate for closed session, but I also think probably most of them are open session.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's about 7 questions.
so the services were utilized after the last superintendent's council meeting. This is the next superintendent's council meeting.
Yeah, but you're also saying in the agenda that this firm, in extraordinary circumstances, can read it verbatim, okay, represents the SELPA council, the superintendent's council. To my knowledge, no one previewed this letter and said, yeah, this represents the majority vote, unless you're referring to the termination vote of 7-3, which isn't referred in the letter. So you're talking about something that is not relevant. When you're saying you're bringing this, you signed the agreement in August, it's the 4th meeting since August, and now we're considering that. If you're talking about the action that you did in regards to authorizing the letter to go to the State Board of Education, yeah, this is the subsequent meeting, but we haven't been able to preview it. We haven't been able to authorize its execution because of the agenda was done to the superintendent's council knowledge. I think it was done to some superintendents, but certainly not a quorum, and certainly not a majority.
I agree with James, and I would not support this being a closed session item because we would not be talking about specific litigation. The issue here is the order in which this contract was signed and then subsequently approved or not approved by us. I don't think that would fall into
And
that
just the
particular
very fact
government
that your
code.
agenda item isn't accurately written, unless there's some math that I'm not getting, you have a hourly rate here on your agenda that is not reflected on the agreement. You state in the agenda that.
The
You
contract
look
states,
confused. So the hourly rate is $265.
Mhm.
Okay, so the agreement that Nancy sent out, I would see the number 265 in that agreement. The hourly rates do not articulate what's on the agenda. That's just a matter of fact. Number two, it says underneath the hourly rate that cases that require extraordinary legal representation, the superintendent's council, I'm assuming that's us, in a legally constituted meeting, not one, not two, not three superintendents, okay, will be informed and give approval. That letter was sent without knowledge or authority to go to the state board. So I don't think even this agenda item reflects accurate information as it pertains to the agreement that you're asking this council to approve.
And the reason why I requested additional information on this is because what was sent to me about what our other law firms charge, they delineate specifically, and I think that should have been shown here, this fee right here really would be a typical partner fee. And so I would also like to see in this agenda that we outline specifically what an associate would be paid, paralegal would be paid, et cetera, as we've seen in other.
certainly, we can get that for you.
So there's been a question about Susan's ability.
The question isn't about Susan's ability to sign a contract, but the question is about the timeliness of it being brought back for approval.
Yeah, I'm assuming the argument would be that it's permissive, right? It doesn't say she does or doesn't have the authority. But I would think commonsensically, if you sign an agreement in August, and today it's considered to be something done for extraordinary reasons, done with the intent to keep us informed, and done with the intent of our approval, why are we approving it 4 months later, whatever, 3 months later, and why are we approving after an action has been taken? A letter got sent to the State Board of Education representing this council. And to my knowledge, this council was not privy to the letter prior to it being, as it going in draft format. And certainly this council didn't authorize it going. So if anything, I think maybe yes. I think timing is one thing, and I also think maybe having the agenda accurately reflect the nature of the agreement. So I see a range of issues.
Thank you. And I guess part of it too is the delineation of what is the day-to-day responsibility of the self-administrator to write a letter without council approval, because I know I write letters without my board approval on behalf of the district, so.
I do too, and I'll tell you, if I put something on an agenda, I don't say that my board has to pre-approve something before I send a letter out. So I would just recommend we defer this item, let my questions go to the council, so the council can be aware of my questions, give the staff an opportunity to respond to the questions, and then it can be considered at a future date. I mean, we've already kicked it down the road 4 meetings. I don't know what the difference would be with another meeting. The agreement was signed in August, action's been taken. If anything, it's an opportunity for the council to approve something that's more accurately reflected.
As far as identifying the 265, I think there's latitude within the settlement agreement. It says $225 to $300, so that this 265 falls within the range between them. And it does identify the other associates and so on in this. I think the issue, and I wasn't completely aware of this, but I just think the issue is settlement was agreement between this attorney and SELPA. And yes, it should have come earlier at following that agreement. It didn't. So you have an individual member who has a list of questions to go to staff to respond to, and then we can deal with it in that. That wasn't a motion. I don't want to take the motion.
So if depending if the